Records of the Grand Historian. Friday, July 24, 2015. Chalices, Serpents, Church Distortion, English Hieroglyphs and Unicorns? Part 1. Welcome back. I just made a chalice video without doing a blog first and I lost it after 5 hours of editing. I can't imagine what happened. All the files suddenly became corrupted. I need more Gremlin Be Gone spray. If you have some extra spray at my direction. Sheesh. So I guess I will write the blog first and hope for the best, but it's late tonight. Forgive any mistakes and I'll correct them in the morning. Most people think of Christianity when they think of chalices, and Wayne Herschel on Hidden Records has done a huge job of finding the esoteric symbolism of the Trinity of Sun above and the Trinity of Suns below, the pyramids of our Earth. Please see his wonderful chalice post showing the chalice detailed star map, most likely of our star origins. Very exciting. I wholeheartedly agree with his findings and hope that we can explore the fantastic layers of the chalice decode that still remains for us to find. A chalice is the same shape roughly as an hourglass, or infinity time loop, and we often find with church chalices and royals, there is often a small serpent in the chalice. The serpent is symbolic of a few aspects of the chalice. The official story is that it means a poisoned cup. Well, that is too simplistic for this symbol to be so widely used. The serpent is both the sign of the cosmic wormhole that is associated with the bottom star, Ra's star of the Trinity of Suns. This star is a wormhole that looks like a vesica piscis when opened, so. In the first respect, this symbol means that the person shown with the cup is either a direct traveler of the cosmic wormhole or is a descendant of a direct traveler, a god. Here is another John the Evangelist, this time with a nice little winged dragon serpent fellow. We'll look at a few of these images before we progress to the next stage of the decode. If you look closely at the chalice, it has 14 petals, or 2 times 7 petals. The 14 is half of the days required for a full rotation of the sun. Most of these chalices have solar science details recorded to show that the people who use and carry them have advanced solar knowledge and are part of the Grail bloodline, the descendants of the gods who traveled the wormhole. On the next picture we start to see the chalice shape in other forms. This photo doesn't have a reference, but we can see that Isis often has her wings up in a chalice shape, and she has taken the form of a kite. So this shape, while very similar in form to the American eagle, which is based on the Roman white eagle, which is based on Isis in the form of a kite or an owl, shows the as above chalice symbolism with the birth or manifestation into the negative space that defines the bottom of this chalice, the as below aspect of the chalice. Let's take a moment for a quick look at the hieroglyphs here. Here on the left we see a person kneeling in a pose that I will show being taken at Kuthos Temple in Indonesia. This is a pose mentioned in the Carlos Castaneda books as a protective pose for a mortal to take when encountering a great god or terrifying energy. It is described as a necessary post for surviving the encounter. In part 2 I want to travel by Google Earth with you to Kutho Temple in Indonesia, where we will see more people in statues in this posture. Here he is saluting the 5-pointed star. This star is everywhere in corporate culture, not because they don't have any imagination and can't think of other logos, but because Ra worship is still very fanatically followed. It seems that Isis is also worshipped, but she might also be mocked, but still her symbolism is everywhere one looks if you know how to see it. I have no formal Egyptian hieroglyph training and I find myself delightfully free of academic distortion on this subject. I studied biochemistry and math, so this is how we much unravel these symbols. We can honestly connect the clues as well as anyone else. We have been taught that we need a certain amount of brainwashing to have the right to try these things, but this is what is keeping the distortion alive, so I am proud that I am an amateur. I have a better chance of coming up with connections on my own. I will skip down to the vesica piscis on the lower left, paired with the flattish domed earth map on the four corners foundation. It is quite a shock when one first confronts that our world cosmology has been taught to us wrong, so be gentle with yourself. But the Egyptians have glyphs of space travel and they would know the cosmology of Earth. They repeatedly show Earth as a dome. They have dome glyphs for the pharaohs who rule both the Upper and Lower Egypt. They mean the upper dome of the chalice, and the lower dome of the chalice, which has a round flattish earth at the bottom of it. So we will explore the chalice as format of the cosmology of our world, the shape of our Earth. To free up our minds for free thought on this subject, we need to set aside our Jesuit education about the format of our universe or shape of our world. So to chip away at this mentality, I'll debunk NASA a bit before we continue with this very important topic. So, if you believe NASA, please YouTube search NASA's official Galileo time-lapse of Earth and ask yourself if high schoolers could do a better job faking this, and why the cloud don't move in 24 hours is the day the Earth stood still, or was that another movie? I asked a scientist about why the clouds don't move, and I was told that the small clouds that were too small to see were moving, but the big clouds were too big to move. I about fell off my chair to hear this answer. when I challenged this person politely about his static cloud theory, he resorted to psychological evaluations of my character, demeaning me for having the courage to think for myself. This is when I knew he is either stupid, or he is supposed to guard the ridiculous lie of NASA, and I don't think he is stupid. We will look more at chalice and dome symbolism with respect to Earth cosmology, but first here is the NASA video. Recently NASA came out with their first unstitched photo of Earth since 1972. If that doesn't make you wonder what the heck is up, you might need more coffee. Just kidding, not a safe thing to drink. Maybe they didn't want you to look up this embarrassment that says it is from 1990-ish. Didn't we have weather radar that showed people that big clouds do in fact move by this time? That is embarrassing. So here is another cosmology symbolism clue from the Egyptians, who knew more about the sun than our scientists know now, so I don't think we can scoff at their knowledge. Any theory about the Egyptians that makes them look stupid or primitive is distortion. Here the scarab beetle is showing the torus field relationship between the sun and the flat Earth dome. In the book Tutankhamun Prophecies, Maurice goes into exhaustive detail about the immense amount of solar science that is encoded into the magnetic fields of the wings of the scarab. But he completely sidesteps the shape of the Earth here. He does explain the precision of the three beams hitting the Earth. But it is still not safe to question Copernicus or Galileo or the flawed starlight experiments which showed that the stars moved, not the Earth. Thought the opposite was published, and the reason why is because Copernicus and Galileo were paid insiders who posed as rebels to fool people into accepting a flawed model of cosmology. Even today the published distance to the moon is ludicrous. You can prove this to yourself with Google Earth experiments. CROW777 on YouTube has made great videos tearing apart many aspects of the moon, from being see-through from time to time, to having a holographic wave that is visible by many, to the inept mathematicians that made up the numbers to be so synchronistic with each other it is almost like they are screaming for someone to notice that the numbers are fake. But let's take a moment and notice the chalice shape of the scarab beetle, the as above, so below. The beetle also encodes the mirror black backing of the inner dome of our sky. The beetle has structural pigmentation. There is a certain name for the circular polarization of the light that comes from these surfaces, and our stars happen to have the same circular polarization. One of the major problems with the flattish dome Earth is the twin opposed spinning of the stars as visible as they turn past the Earth at the equator. On every other topic the flat Earth or dome-shaped Earth wins the argument over the helioglobular model, but this has been a sticking point. Casey et Enter Thesti 4RZ has shown that a mirror reflective concave inner dome surface, like a chalice, would show the twin opposed vortexes of starlight spin. So what if this is one of the secrets of the Grail? When you tip it up to drink the holy wine, you will see the true nature of our dome sky, and when you set it down, you see the hourglass sands of time of the loop of infinite time. I can't find a picture of someone tipping up a gold chalice, so imagine this, and think about the meaning of the Grail, and those who have eyes to see. Here we have a fascinating picture of a young Egyptian with a Hathor chalice. Hathor is another mother goddess associated with Isis or vice versa. This is apparently from the Hathor temple which we travel to together in Google Earth later when I get my new video up. Hopefully that will be successful. Hathor is a mother and birth goddess, and of course the chalice is symbolic of the womb of the sky. The trinity of suns and the story of Geb seeding the sky womb to create the human race. I darkened this photo, and increased the size of the photo so that I could zoom into to see the detail. You may feel young again to see the unicorn hieroglyph near the youngster's knee. Another quick moment to enjoy the hieroglyphs. On the left we notice a circular shape that I haven't decoded yet, a beehive, a hand with two fingers pointing, like we often see in Buddhist hand poses of meditation, three stripes that are very similar to many corporate logos today, from Amtrak to Obama's Hope advertisement. Hope equals 44 in simple gematria, by the way, which equals kill. An example of why we should learn what English words really mean before we use them to our detriment. Sounds are spells. A beautiful red unicorn facing the same direction, and an upward tipped dome. The academic distortion is going to tell you that these are baskets. These are not baskets. There is also an egg here. We have quite a few stories of gods arriving in eggs, too many in fact for this to be pure myth. If you think that unicorns are mythical, stay tuned for my post where I will show you a cookbook from medieval times, that includes many recipes including how to marinate a unicorn to prepare it for barbecue. They didn't write fantasy then, although they did write symbolic allegory, but I don't think they would put symbolism in a practical cookbook. But stay tuned and see what you think. This hieroglyph shows the traveler of the wormholes. In another post I decoded the word free, and this is a wonderful confirmation that FR is 69 from the worldly soul of the fields to the purified soul of heaven. 9. the free man has the ability to travel back and forth in the wormhole of Ra, symbolized by the letter E, which is a trident and the 5-pointed star. There are 2 E's in free to depict the coming and the going. The Freemason wishes to achieve this thawing of the soul, from the lower chilly degrees to the 33rd degree, which is the first degree of freedom, from the dome. Do you see how our language has a lot of clues in it? Freedom is being free from the dome, which is the bottom dome of the chalice. This is why kingdom has a DOM in it. This is why Washington means the steeping in water of the ton, which is a mound of earth symbolizing the lower dome of the chalice. There are 7 hills or tons in Washington, but where is the stem of the chalice in Washington? It is the Washington Monument. Isis herself forms the upper part of the chalice with her arms, but in a regular chalice shape, the stem plunges into the upper and the lower part of the chalice. It is a sex act, and the confirmation of this is in the Egyptian history of Geb seeding Nut. Nut is the sky goddess, forming a dome over the earth. The stem is symbolic of Orion. Like in the Chi-Ro of the Catholic Church, that is also Orion. The Washington Monument shows the alignment of Orion in the east as it points to the lowest star of the Trinity of Suns, Ra's wormhole. This alignment happens throughout the year as Orion moves slowly to vertical, confirming the phallus symbolism and the seeding aspect of Geb and Nut. I will try and show a picture from Hidden Records site, or see if I can direct you to the alignments that he has found with the Washington Monument at the mystery star of Ra. Here in my picture to the right, you may be able to see the fish shape over the Washington Monument that aligns with the story that Osiris's phallus was eaten by a fish. There is also a chalice directly over Isis's womb on the Washington Mall here. Please notice the upper chalice, the monument forms the stem, and the lower part of the fish is the lower part of that chalice. Also very important to notice, the right circle of the fish vesica piscis has an oval overlay. This eye has a view that is defined by the 2 rays going to the left. This eye looks directly at the owl eye that is looking back. There is an eye in the belly of the owl. Why the eye? We know that the Illuminati are obsessed with the all-seeing eye, but what does it mean? The eye is also the dome shape. If you look at this eye as if it was standing on the ray foot, as if that was foot of the chalice, then the Washington Monument would be piercing that dome of the back of the eye, the retina, from the back. The eye is a convex dome shape that is also toroidal. In the Bible it does say many useful things in code. One of them is that we are the apple of God's eye. There are many eye references and I can't go into them all on this post. But there are many reasons to believe that our world is a dome shape that is eye-shaped, and the earth is a lens shape at the bottom of the eye. Bear with me on this as we go. I will get more eye confirmations written up here. But we can see in Astana Palace that there is also a chalice that is dome-shaped with a lens-shaped Atlantis world mountain map at the foot of the dome. I am trying to get video up of traveling here by Google Earth so that we can look at this together, so I hope I will get that up in the next few days. But here on the left you can see the chalice, the is above so below of the dome. This installation shows all the levels of Gnostic heaven as described by Enoch, I believe. I haven't read very much Enoch yet. The lowest dome is 0.22 miles away from the center of the world map at the bottom. This is the number of the Ham, slave of Abraham, the breeder of multitude of slaves for the Anunnaki gods. Abraham showed his loyalty to the cruel gods of the Anunnaki and won the right to be a military defender of their rocket bases and a breeder of slaves that the etymology shows are both food and worker. There are 7 levels of heaven of the domes, each ruled by several archons. Then according to Gnostica, the 8th level is ruled by Sophia, who dreamed up the whole dome and accidentally created the archons. She is working to fix the problems that came about because of her virgin parthenogenic creation of the world. It lacks balance. It lacks the divine male, it has the divine female, but the males are sort of lost and don't have the basis of energy for them to find their divinity as easily as a woman. They can find divinity through chastity, but that is not the full balance of divine male. So there is some work to be done. The off-balance male has denied the divine female principle and the pendulum has probably swung back and forth. But the 8th level is the level of Sophia and fixed stars. Sophia is associated with Mut, Tefnut, Isis, and other mother goddess of the deep unfathomable sky. She is known to the Syrians as Mari, the Holy Sea, the Virgin Mother. Virgin means parthogenic creation abilities, not an absence of intercourse. The Holy Sea is the Holy Sea, the Mari. This is why Paris, which is named after Isis, shows a boat on the sea, and it happens to be in the shape of the Holy Sea. The number of the leaves and their types are symbolic, and the fleur-de-lis shows you the twin opposed vortexes, that is the shape of the movement of the stars in our sky from the equator. All the clues have been here all along. The sea is also echoed today with the modern Starbucks Mermaiden Melusine. I hope to show how in the chapel of the Sermon on the Mount there is the symbolism of the water of the Holy Mari, the sea of the sky, that precisely matches the hair logo of the Starbucks mermaid. The Holy Sea, is the womb. It is the upper part of the chalice, and if you notice the shape of the UN Council, it is the shape of the power button, which is the C chalice and the phallus, the moment of conception with the electrical connection is made. Here is the chalice of the womb at the moment of connection with the electricity of both poles, the power button, A and D. At the UN. You might think it is about power only, and it is a longer story than this, but this is also the chalice of creation. If you look closely at the Astana pictograph from the sky, you will see that the stem of the chalice is an incarnation tube. There is a fetus between the legs of the eagle on the top side of this picture. I will take you here and show you this in a video, showing more of the detail. This fetus incarnates down through all the layers of the dome, through what looks like the magic sword, with the flying serpent or bird with lighting from heaven coming from its mouth. This sword is symbolic of King Arthur Pendragon's sword. It is plunged into the lower dome, which is like a ton or a mounded hill surrounded by the holy sea of the skies, just like Washington, D.C. is a mounded hill surrounded by sea water. King Arthur's story was about removing the reincarnation tube from Earth to prevent more people from being trapped in this karma loop. The infinite time loop of the eight. Do you see how this also symbolizes the chalice? The eye in simple gematria is 35, which reduces to 8 is a chalice that is also like an eye that looks down, and the lower eye that looks up. There are many hints from insiders, movies, movie posters about our dome world inside the eye. Here is a link to the Illuminatus observer who claims to be an insider spilling some of the clues, and on his podcast he repeatedly says, "You are, inside the eye." I had a metaphysical experience in which I was able to see with the all-the-seeing eye. At the time I thought of it later as the eye of God. I don't fully understand any of it, but we will continue to sort the clues as we go. A peek at my notebook. I write in this while my kids are watching movies. I decode the words and find amazing things. Here I found that starting with syllabic gematria, Cha equals 12, which is the C of the chalice that we spoke of already, and the H is the infinite loop of time, the 8. A is the pyramid on Earth. So the Cha has actually both parts of the chalice. Also 12 reduces to 3, one part of the chalice. Even though you might read the numbers from the top down. I believe that this 3 is the upper dome of the chalice, because the Holy See is the sky goddess. L by itself is 12 equals 3. L symbolizes the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This understanding was originally given to the rulers put in power by the Anunnaki, who were moral and wished to raise good leaders. So the royal is the connection between the higher and the lower. L is next to the I, which in Greek is spelled I with sideways orientation. It means the egoi I. That is the next step from the L of the royalty and the first letter of ice. The frozen ones below the 32nd degree. Those whose souls are not perfected and they are trapped, frozen in infinite time loops of death and reincarnation. IC equals 12 and forms the lower triangle of the chalice. The lower egoi I is formed by the conception of the phallus/stem and the upper dome of the chalice. Then the incarnate lowers to the world of the lower dome, through the E, the wormhole of Ra, which is opened by the trident formed by the E. Using Ra gematria from alpha and omega inward, chalice becomes CE, 8. The chalice defines the travel of the soul between the poles of life and death. HC, 11. This number is seen as evenly distributed on both sides, like the gates that we see over and over again, like the gates that the hippogriff flies through. Flying through the two obelisks, or two towers, is seen over and over again, the pillars of the sun and the moon of Freemasonry. AI, 10, the two 5-pointed stars of Ra, but it represents the upward-facing star and the downward-facing, the balancing of the sun and moon polarity. The Egyptian struggle of Ra and Apophis. The giant serpent, who are twins, and represent two sides of the whole. And L, which is also the cross, the connection between the two sides of the infinite loop of time. The L moves around in a backward circle to form many shapes, including the Atlantis map of the four rivers, but in this word the dominate meaning is the crossing at the juncture of the two ends of the infinite loop. The U of our language is also a chalice. It even includes the stem, which is Orion, and the S is the serpent. The U is 21, which is 3, and this cup faces upward because of the 2 is the B, which is pregnant and feminine. The S equals 19, which is the number of Ra. So the word US as in we means the Nephilim, actually, those of the Grail, those of the dragon bloodline. The US, which was founded by Freemasons, also counts itself among those who walk the red carpet, the rose bloodline of the Shining Ones. We cannot say that they are good or bad. I believe that they are both. There are soul-evolved dragons and elves and fairies and those who are fallen and remain fallen. So this makes it complicated, but easier to reserve judgment while we learn to speak our mother tongue and understand the hieroglyphs that we are writing. Albus means white elf and chalice of the shining serpent bloodline of the wise. We can see that there has been a struggle on Earth between the soul-evolved angels or shining ones, and the fallen angels. As humans we cannot pretend to understand races that are far more advanced than we are the hobbits to their wizard. But we are pure of heart and can stay pure even in dark times. This might be why they wish to mix their DNA with ours.